Okay, thank you very much for coming. To begin with, let's have candidate introductions. So each of you can take 3 minutes. We'll start with Ryan Barker and then work across here. Just to introduce yourselves so people can get to know you a little better.
You said I have 3 minutes?
Yes.
All right, we'll give this a shot. I have never once used my full time or even come close, and 3 minutes is a long time. So I'm Ryan Barker. I've been a lifelong resident of North Ogden for my whole life. I have the privilege of actually living right next door to my parents. So as a youth, I was trained in what family values are and hard work. I grew up on a beef farm and had the privilege of also working on my neighbor's farm, milking cows. So I do know how to work. I do know how to get my hands dirty. And right now I do have the privilege of also living in my grandparents' old home. So to say I have ties in North Ogden, they go way back. For work, well, more about my family. So my wife actually came and joined us again. She was here the other night as well. A couple nights ago I said we were almost married for 22 years, and now I can say we've been married for 22 years since we had our anniversary yesterday, so I do appreciate this being on a day after. I have two of my kids that came to watch, my oldest son and oldest daughter. I have two boys still at home. And then for work, I work at the Northview Fire District here in North Ogden. So I have the privilege of serving the residents of North Ogden, Pleasant View, and Harrisville every day I go to work. Whether I'm at the station or at home, if an emergency comes in, I do respond from my house or I respond from work. And regardless of what happens up here, whether I win an election or not, I will still have the opportunity to serve North Ogden residents for at least the next 12 to 15 years, because that's where I'm working. I do hold the position of fire marshal and deputy chief at the fire district, so I'm deeply involved in our planning department, our city meetings already. I meet with all of our planning staff. I understand what's going on in the city. So regardless, I am going to stay involved. And then the last 8 years, I've had the privilege of working on the city council. I've seen firsthand of city government in action, and that's about me in a nutshell. I hope I have at least a minute left. Okay, well, I'm done.
Thank you very much. Bill Swanson.
And those that know me, can I have his minute? You know it's true. Before I get to talking about me, first of all, thank you all for coming. For taking the time out of your busy schedules on a Friday date night to come out here and learn about the candidates, get yourself informed, and be prepared to make a good vote. I'm Phil Swanson. I'm a doer. I'm somebody who rolls up their sleeves and gets to work when work needs to be done. For more than 10 years, I've had the fortune to serve you on City Council as a planning commissioner on the Northview Fire District Board of Directors, on the Public Works Building Committee, and other volunteering. I've also served our community on the Weber Schools Foundation Board, on the Ogden Valley Adaptive Sports Foundation Board, and assisted in raising the funds for the flag that we fly every fall up in Coldwater Canyon. My passion is our community. It's driven me to continuously serve this community in elected, appointed, and volunteer positions. When something needs to be done here in the city, I'm there. I'm happily married for 42 years to a wonderful educator who's probably taught many of your children. We are committed to the well-being of this community. Together we work hard for the betterment of this community. In my career, I've been in healthcare for 37 years. Through that work, every day I'm responsible for caring for and being a guardian of the taxpayer funds that are distributed through Medicare and Medicaid. Every day I ask the question, is this necessary? Is this the right thing for these expenditures? During my time serving, I've learned a lot about this community. I've learned a lot about governing and a lot about myself. I've worked with mayors, councils, and city staff to reduce expenses by improving our efficiency, to look at new ways to organize and meet the needs of residents. And I've always asked these questions. Do we need it? How are we going to pay for it? And is there a better way? As a city council member, I actively work with mayors and fellow council members and staff and residents to reduce North Ogden costs by helping secure more than $3 million in ramp grants, $10.6 million for the widening of 450 East. This is all outside money. This isn't our money from the city. $3 million plus for the Monroe Boulevard right-of-way preservation, and have helped negotiate with developers to provide new parks as they bring in. 30 seconds, is that what that is? All of this service has broadened my understanding of North Ogden's needs, allowed me to learn from council members and mayors, reaffirmed the power and commitment of our incredible employees, and strengthened my resolve to be wise and frugal with our taxes. Working with this great team has prepared me to lead this great team. I ask for your vote.
Thank you, Mona Wall.
Thank you.
Hey, just so speak directly into those microphones because it'll pick up better if we do.
You want me to go again?
I was watching the closed caption and you actually picked up pretty well.
Okay.
Thank you all for coming here tonight. I sure appreciate you taking the time out of your busy lives to be here. Thank you. My name is Mona Wald. I am originally from Salt Lake City. My husband and I moved to Weber County in 2006, and we've been in North Ogden since 2013. In 2015, I began my work with public service, so working for Weber County in the planning department. And then I've worked for North Ogden City with Mayor Taylor from 2016 to 2017. Also in the planning department and then with the general administration. I had the pleasure of attending many planning commission meetings during that time and saw personally how decisions are made and big projects and development can affect our residents. I'm so grateful for this opportunity to be here. I just want you to know that I am here because I love public service, and I had somebody comment to me the other day that is not possible, but it is, and I do. So I am dedicated to working for government, and I do see the need for good people that actually really care for the community. And so I just want to let you know that I will continue working for the community in one manner or another, regardless of what happens here in the elections. I'm so glad that we have good choices here at the table that we can learn from and be able to elect when that time comes. Then I worked for a water company in Mountain Green and was able to become more aware of the issues that surround the culinary water needs of a community. And then from there I went to Ogden City, where I worked for the Building Services Department as a supervisor for 3 years. And that was during the time of COVID. And so while you may have heard of many cities or municipalities or governments that were laying people off, we were actually hiring. We did so well, and we were able to adapt very quickly to moving on from the hard copy papers that consumed a lot of time to going online, so we could reduce the amount of people coming into our office and the potential dangers there that entailed. Then I was able to take a little bit of time. We have 3 children, and my youngest is 15, and then I have a 17-year-old and a 19-year-old. And they're just wonderful, beautiful children. So I was able to take a little bit of a time off to be with them, and then just wanted to get back in. And I got hired on at Weber County with the clerk auditor's office, where I am to this day. And so I help people with their tax relief programs, passports, and marriage licenses. Thank you so much, and I would appreciate your consideration for a vote tonight. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. We're going to have to sit down and speak into the mic because they are having a little bit of a hard time. I noticed on the live stream that we're picking it up, but we just need to make sure that people can hear that aren't here. So, again, I'm just going to briefly say the rules again. Each of these questions, you'll have 1.5 minutes for the question. There will be no rebuttals unless your name is mentioned. Okay, if someone refers directly to you, then you'll get a minute to respond. So it's probably a good idea not to mention somebody else unless you really want to. Okay, so I really want each person to emphasize your goals and beliefs and who you are and what you represent, rather than having a back and forth with others. So But you will get a minute to respond if your name's mentioned. So the order, again, will go across this way, starting with Ryan Barker, and then we'll rotate who goes first, okay? So that's kind of the order, right? So question 1, we'll start with Ryan Barker. The question is, the undeveloped acreage at Barker Park was intended to be North Ogden's premier park. Should the development of the park proceed, and if so, how will it be funded?
All right. Good question. And yes, it should proceed. Barker Park, when it's all said and done, I think it's going to be, there's still 35 acres that have not been developed. If you want a good answer to this question, come to our council meeting on Tuesday because it's on the agenda for this long-term phasing and financing plan. Part of the staff's decisions right now is that we're going to use park impact fees to help pay for this. We'll save them up over a period of time, and then when we get a portion, then we'll phase the park. The other option we have, if we don't like that option, is we need to go to a bond and let the citizens decide whether this is really something we want. I'm willing to listen to the citizens. If we really want to get this park done, then bonding is the only other option. If we want to start saving our money, we can do that. The last estimate I heard was $16 million to finish Barker Park. And if we save, our proposal is we're going to save $500,000 per year. So it's going to take 32 years to get this park done if it's at $16 million. And that's with no inflation or over time. So there's options out there, or we can just keep doing what we're doing. Save up as we can. But again, come to council meeting on Tuesday. This is where we're going to be discussing Barker Park. We're going to be talking about the phasing and then a little about of what the park will look like.
Okay, Phil Swanson.
The first part of that question, can you hear me?
Yes.
First part of that question is easy. Yes, the park needs to be finished. I can't wait for that to happen. Just imagine what that will be like with that additional 35 acres finished in the way that has been envisioned and is there. It'll be the gemstone of our community, and I can't wait for that to happen. The hard part is, how are we going to pay for it? We've had that parcel of land in the city now for 20 plus years, and we keep saying we're going to save, and we do save, and we do a little bit, but nothing's happening very fast. I agree with Ryan that we have two options. We can save for 30, 40 years and hope that we have zero inflation and that we can have an economy that allows us to save $500,000 or more a year. Or we can go to you, the citizens, and we can ask whether or not you want to do a general obligation bond. There are two kinds of bonds that we can do out there. One would be a revenue bond, where the council would make that decision on its own, and you would not be a part of it. I would oppose that. I would say that we would need to do a general obligation bond, where you, the voters, decide whether or not we're going to bond and how much we're going to bond for. If we did that, we could build the park now, and we could get it done very quickly at today's costs and not future costs. And those that would use the park over the next 30 or 40 years would pay for it as that bond is paid off. Those are really the only options that we have. Thank you.
Thank you. Mona?
We live in a beautiful area here in North Ogden, and I can only imagine the asset that a park there in the north end of Barker Park would be. So yes, I absolutely agree that that would be a wonderful idea. I was visiting yesterday the International Peace Gardens in Salt Lake City because, and you can rebut to me if you want to, Ryan, it was also my anniversary yesterday, and I beat you by 1 year. So it was one of the most beautiful places I have ever been here in this state, and the peace that I felt while I was there was just tremendous. I saw and I took note of how that was developed, and they brought in a lot of organizations to help donate, cultural organizations that helped with the theme of the international decor that they wanted. And so one of the things that I would strongly advise would be to seek out sponsorships and to seek out organizations that would be interested in donations too. Of course, that won't cover $16 million, but it's a good start, and then we can always seek out grants. And really, the bond, I know from times past, the public wasn't informed or allowed to vote on a bond. So I doubt that would happen. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Second question, we'll start with Phil Swanson. How will you keep residents informed and involved in city decisions? What changes, if any, would you propose to increase public participation in the council's work?
Thank you. Just finished writing this down.
Would you mind repeating that one more
Okay,
time?
how will
please?
you keep residents informed and involved in city decisions? What changes, if any, would you propose to increase public participation in the council's work?
Thank you. For the last 10 plus years, I've been very active on social media and other avenues, trying to do all that I can to keep residents informed of what's going on, to answer questions. You know, what's the ordinance for this, or how do we get this done, or where do we go to find out this answer? Those of you that are on social media, you know that I'm on almost all of the pages and doing everything I can, and have been for a decade, trying to get the answers out there and trying to keep people aware of what's going on, the decisions that are being made, and how they can influence those decisions. One of the things that I would plan to do as a mayor is, first of all, I would continue my presence on social media. I would have an official mayor's Facebook page. I would have an official X page. I would have an official Instagram page. In addition to that, I have two other initiatives that I'd like to do. One would be, and I'm stealing this from Mayor Phippen here in Weber County, he does Mondays with Mayor. I would love to do Mondays with Mayor. In inclement weather, we would meet here, and I would have soda pop and cookies, and I could sit here and you can ask me any question that you want, and we can find out any answer that you want. In good weather, we could be at a park somewhere like that. And then the other is, I would like to do a podcast, a monthly podcast where it's the mayor's podcast. We can have department heads, different people come in. We have some great experts in this town about how to do a podcast, and we can answer whatever question the community has. My goal is to get the word out to as many people in as many ways as possible.
Thank you very much. Mona?
Thank you. Well, my degree, I failed to mention, I have a bachelor's degree in public advertising, public relations and advertising, and a master's degree in public administration. So communications is one of my, hopefully, areas of expertise. I know that social media only reaches about 2% of the public, and so I don't believe that that's effective. I would actually like to go on to researching it a little more into AI and the mass communication that we've experienced in the past in times of emergencies. And I'd like to be able to reach all of the as many residents as possible in North Ogden. I do like the idea of meeting directly and allowing people to meet with you. However, also that is, I don't know, I would hope it wouldn't be too much sugar at the meetings. I'm very, yes, is that it? Oh, okay, a little bit more. It is important for residents to stay informed of the issues. And I know that for the important issues, such as rezoning, they do receive a letter, the immediate residents 100 meters from or 100 feet from the event or the construction site. But, a lot of times you just need to have interested residents as well. But communication is key, and that is something that will be my priority.
Thank you. Ryan?
So recently, North Ogden, under Mayor Berube, we started just the One North Ogden Facebook page, and I would keep that going. Before, we used to have Facebook pages for every city department, and random people or random department members would be answering questions. I think it's better if we have one social media page for our city with people that are actually monitoring it full time. I personally don't have the time to be monitoring social media all day, every day, and so that's why I don't respond on social media. It's well known. If you come to council meeting, you know I'm not on social media. But it is an important avenue. The other avenue that we use, and we're still working on it, is we've changed our city's website. We're trying to get it so that we can email residents more clearly and more often, or they can sign up to receive emails. We're still in the process of figuring out ways to communicate with residents The days of old where you used to put notices in the newspaper are past, so I appreciate you pulling that out of our legislature for that. But we do need to find ways to reach our residents. Online is the best option. We just got to figure out a way to make sure that we get everybody's email and social media.
Thank you. Okay, we're going to go on to the third question, and this starts with Mona. So what is your view on the scope of local government? Should it expand services to address social issues or focus narrowly on core functions like infrastructure and public safety?
Thank you for asking that question. I am a product of government programs. So I come from a family, a divorced mother with 6 kids in the home, and I know personally of the benefits that can bless a family that needs a little bit of a hand up in times of need. I am a strong supporter of, at least in the Parks and Rec department in that area, I would really like to see a more developed program here in North Ogden. I don't feel like we've been maximizing our potential. And again, we have the most beautiful area in this city, and a lot of amenities. And let's get our children and our youth out there. Let's bring on the sports and have community events. I'm really grateful for the amphitheater. I'm so glad that it was built. It brings beauty, more beauty into our area. And David Osmond was here. And it was so sad to see that there were only about 50 people in the crowd that came. I think we lost a great opportunity, but I remember one of the things he mentioned was how beautiful the mountains were, and he had never seen a venue that was so pretty. I'd really like to maximize on our Parks and Rec, and I will do that if elected. Thanks.
Thank you.
Local government, the scope is public safety is number one, whether that's police. In North Ogden, it would be police. The fire district, its own entity, but police and fire is number one. Public works is 1B. You have clean water being delivered to your home, having the option to get sewer out, pick up your trash. That is the purpose of local government. How do we make your life easier and better, and also have a safe place to live? To expand on that, as an elected official, local government's role is to be a steward of the budget. We hire the professionals as local leaders. We are not the professionals on sewer, water, garbage, or police, fire. We are over the budget, and then we hire the professionals, the experts, and we allow them to do their job. As a local, if I was elected mayor, my job would be to give our department heads the support they need so that they can make sure that this water is coming to your home, make sure the sewer is going out, make sure garbage is getting picked up, make sure police have what they need. It'd be to more support our staff, and recreation's another big one in there. I actually think we do have a great recreation department. It can get better, but we do have a great recreation. We do have great parks. We have great staff members in North Ogden. My job is to make sure that we support them.
Thank you. Phil?
The primary role of government is to protect its citizens and to make sure that life and liberty are protected. Public safety, fire protection, sewer, garbage disposal, all of those things, if they're not done right, drinking water, if they're not done right, people die. And so that's the primary and number one purpose of local government, and always has to be the top priority. There is great benefit to having a recreational program. The research is out there. It's good for the youth. It's good for the future. It's good for the community. However, when it comes to a recreation program, I'm reminded of a phrase that comparison is the thief of joy. We get too busy comparing ourselves to other communities. This community has that and we don't. This community has that and we don't. And we look at what they have, but we don't look at the revenue streams that they have that we don't. We don't have the economic business development that other communities have. We don't have the sales tax dollars that other communities have. There are communities right here in Weber County that have our population that have twice the budget that we do because of their sales tax. So they have nicer parks. They have nicer toys because they have the money to do it. The first thing that we do is we take care of life and limb. We make sure that your freedoms are protected. And then as we have excess money, then we look at those programs that then benefit us from the social side, and we do all that we can. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, so we're circling back to Ryan Barker on our fourth question here. And, you know, we talked a little bit about, you know, this role, but this fourth question is going to be specific about how will you improve North Ogden's youth sports program, including better practice facilities, more practice time, increased football team capacity, and access to high school fields without raising taxes?
So, this is a good question, and if you've listened to any of my council meetings, I've actually spoken out in support of our recreation department for the last couple of years. Up until 2 years ago, I was a liaison on council over recreation. Our teams are filling up faster than almost any other city's teams. It used to be you'd have a full month to register your kid to play local sports. Now you have 2 weeks or less because the teams will fill up. Our parks, the issue is we don't have the park space. So to say that we need to figure out a way, well, Barker Park would be one option. The current plans show 2 soccer fields being developed on Barker Park. Whether that happens or not, that's up to the citizens to decide. The other option is, I know that the contract with schools costs money. Whether you're going to use their gyms for basketball, it costs money. And then you still have every school team in North Ogden that needs to get into those gyms. When I was a coach for a basketball team, we'd actually show up at the gym, practice for a half hour, and then we'd play a game for a half hour. I wasn't that impressed with it because as a kid, we actually played up more than that. We've got to figure out new ways to get our kids into these gyms and into sports fields. Football is the biggest issue around here. It used to be the city would sponsor their own football team. The Ute Football Conference is now coming into northern Utah and is taking all the kids that want to play football, and they are the ones that they contract with Weber High to actually have the field. North Ogden does not have a contract with Weber High to play up there. We play at Oakland Park, but there's options out there. It's just what do we want to pay for?
Very good.
Thank
Phil?
you. You know, sports is an important thing. It's been a big part of my children's lives. There are people in here that have coached my daughter in basketball and my sons in t-ball and football and things like that. And I've seen the benefit that it has in their lives. You've heard the phrase, I think, you can have anything in the world with money, right? We can have as many teams as you as residents want to pay for. We can have as many teams as we're willing to bill for. The difficulty is, where are we going to get the park space? Ryan aptly mentioned that we're using all the park space. If you look, especially during soccer season, the parks are full. You want to go fly a kite, you can't, because there's several soccer teams out there on the field, and they're out there doing all that they can. Our teams fill up quickly. We're maxed out every time. Again, the question comes down to, how do we pay for it? I'm all for having more teams. I'm all for having more parks. We just need to figure out how we're going to pay for it. As I mentioned in my opening, we've brought tens of millions of dollars into this city, working on council together and with our staff to build parks. We've got developers building parks for us. It simply isn't enough. And again, it comes back to that question. What are you willing to pay for? Thank you.
Thank you. Mona?
Thank you. I don't believe that we need to charge citizens any more taxes to fund anything more. I think our taxes have been going up consistently for the past 6 years, and I would like to actually stop not considering just raising taxes for everything that you need funding for. I am strongly opposed to just thinking that the only way of funding something is by charging the citizens for it. So I would like to propose that if you saw Field of Dreams, they say there, if you build it, they will come. Well, I believe that if you organize it, they will come. And I just feel like we need a Parks and Rec department that is a little more involved and will be more proactive in organizing the sports. People are desirous. There is a football team, one football team that we've put out there. We're charging and capped it, I guess, around 30 kids for one football team. That means that more than half of those kids are not going to even be able to have a chance to play. So I don't find it very logical the way things are being run right now. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we're going to come to our fifth question. We start with Phil Swanson. Weber County has indicated they will not be providing additional funding for the senior center, and costs will continue to rise. Should the city continue to invest in this program, or should it be self-funding?
First, I think the senior center does an awesome job. Research will show you that one of the greatest problems we have with our older generation is loneliness. And we have to do something about that. They need to have that outlet. They need to have that opportunity to get together. Again, it comes down to how much do we as a community value with our pocketbooks the socialization and the social programs. We have ongoing conversations about the pool paying for itself. Well, that's a social program. Same with the senior center. There are benefits that come. The question is, how much do those that use the facilities, how much of that should they be paying on their own, and to what extent should that be? That's a philosophical question that has to be answered by city council with the input from residents, because it really comes down to, again, what you want to have happen. We can sit up here and make all kinds of decisions that you will or you won't like. But with your input, it's, I'll just finish with that. Sorry, I can go on.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm really glad to have this question. The senior center is, it's called senior center, but it's also a community center in my opinion, and can be used a lot more for different events, especially in the wintertime. Sometimes we have long winters here, and there's a lot that can be done in those, in having a place where you can go to gather. I am such a proponent of self-sustaining programs. So I would really like to emphasize that anything that I would do, I would look for ways to financially make it feasible and self-sustaining without resorting to raising taxes. I already have a lot of friends that are in their 50s and 60s asking me to but hold some dances so that they can meet people. And I don't see why we cannot use that venue for that. There are other things that we can do, crafts for kids. There's just so many ideas, you name it, and it can happen. We have the location. Why not? And I'm just grateful to have it. And I know that we can make it sustainable financially. Thank you.
All right, so currently we're under contract with the county, with the senior center, where they give us money to pay for, or they don't give us, they're giving us an employee to run the community programs over at the senior center. Part of the contract also says if we charge money, then the money goes to the county, not to the city. It goes back to the county. That's a county program. So to say that we're going to raise or charge the citizens to use it, then that just means we're paying the county the money and the city gets nothing. As a city, we've reached out with Pleasant View and actually had them, they're paying us about $10,000 to $15,000 every year to help with maintenance on the building. We've reached out to Harrisville. They haven't responded yet in favor of us, but we are looking at other options to have the people or the cities that utilize the senior center pay for it. Right now, North Ogden pays roughly $60,000 a year on maintenance at the building. That's it. That's all we're paying for. If we want to build a bigger, robuster system, we can do that. But right now, the county still has a contract, and they still support a person there to be there and run all the programs. That senior center is well used. It's got programs going Monday through Friday every day of the week, and then I think they still have a dinner every Thursday. So it is well used. We do let the Kiwanis people use it on Tuesday nights. We let other people on other nights. There's not many more options that we can start fitting more people in.
Thank you. Okay, we'll go to our sixth question now. This one will start with Mona. What knowledge do you have about city finances, and if major sources of funding such as sales tax decreases, how would you balance the city's budget?
Thank you. I would just like to add, I don't believe in no option scenario. I think there's always an option to make things happen. One of the things I would like to discuss about our city finances is that back in 2021, there was the topic of how are we going to fund the public safety building. And there was talk about a general obligation bond. A general obligation bond allows citizens to vote on it. And that was shut down. And then it went to a sales tax revenue bond, which means we only have one source of revenue to fund that bond, and that is through sales tax. Well, the economy has not done very well, and or at least not as well as we thought. And we are still thinking that because we have a sales tax revenue bond, that was the best way to not raise taxes on citizens. Well, number one, it costs us more, and then we're still raising taxes on our citizens every year. Like I said, we've been raising taxes for the past 6 years. So it isn't working. Whatever my opinion of city finances is it's just not working, and we need a fresh perspective to come in and review everything, the way things are happening, because otherwise we're going to continue as is. Thanks.
Thank you. Ryan?
For the last couple of years, Mayor Berube had us heavily involved as council with our budget. I do understand how we raise our revenue sources, and this year sales tax is a big concern. One issue I'd like to clear up: when the council voted on the revenue bond, our interest rate was less than 2%. If we would have gone to ballot, it could have doubled, if not more. So to say that we made a bad choice, I actually think we made a good choice as a council, because our interest rate is less than 2% on this building. It's unheard of. But if sales tax drop this year with our city staff, we've actually told them they need to have options B, C, and D. We have options in our city that if comes October, November, our sales tax revenues not coming in like we think it is, we're not going to be paying for things. We know that we're going to have to cut some projects, we're going to have to cut some services, but we do have options. The problem we have as a city in North Ogden is our property taxes only cover about 60% of the police department's budget. That does not include public works, that does not include city admin, it does not include the majority of the city. It covers 60% of the police department. So to say that we're raising taxes is almost not, we raise taxes, but it does not cover near what we need.
First part of that question, my knowledge of the finances here in the city. For 13 years, I've been involved in every budget session that the city council has had, first as a citizen, attending day-long, taking time off work, from my personal schedule, to attend day-long budget committee meetings along with council, and working and going through line by line by line on every budget for the last 13 years. I know every revenue source. I know every position cut. I know every efficiency cut that we've made over the last dozen-plus years. There's no one that is more familiar with the budget than I am. 3 years ago, at the recommendation of a citizen, I helped formulate the Citizen Budget Committee so that we could get more eyes on the budget and allow you as citizens to come in with your expertise and your perspectives and take part in the budget process. Since being off of council the last 2 years, I've been on that committee. I chaired it this last year. And one of the things that we recommended to council and that they have done with staff this year from the Citizen Budget Committee is that we've asked them to have a 5% and a 10% preparation of what happens if we need to cut that much out of the budget from our expenses, because sales taxes go down in case of that. So we're preparing. We've already prepared. We're making that in there. And it's very difficult to know what the budget is when you haven't been coming to budget meetings and you haven't spent any time looking at the budget.
Thank you very much. So we're going to come back now to Ryan Barker for the next question. What are the top 3 virtues you adhere to as a public servant? So
Mike?
What are the top 3 virtues you adhere to as a public servant?
My top 3 virtues would be honesty, integrity, and just being available. Long before I was on city council, I've already mentioned I've been with the fire department. Working in public safety, you show up when you're needed. You're available whenever you're needed. You're always available. Over the years, as I've mentioned in our last debate a couple of nights ago, my job with the fire department, I'm involved with developers. There's a lot of times that the developers will come in, and me personally, I don't like the plan, but I still will give them the benefit of what they're asking for, even though I don't like it. So that's how honesty and integrity lay in. Just because as an elected official I don't like something that's being proposed does not mean we have the right to just shut it down. People have the right to do what they want with their own property, and as elected officials, we should be able to uphold our city standards and not go any, we can't go stricter. It's a lot about just being available. Thank you.
Thank
That's
you.
okay.
Phil?
Thank you. It's a great question. Similar to Ryan, honesty, integrity, and integrity are my first two. One, that's a personal profile, that I'm honest and I have integrity with you. And that means that what you see is going to be the truth. What you hear from me is going to be the truth of how I feel. The other piece of honesty and integrity means that as a council member, I'm not going to play favorites. The good old boys club goes away. That when you come into city council, it doesn't matter who your parents were, what your religion is, how much money you have, you're going to be treated fairly and equitably by the government here in North Ogden City. That's honesty and that's integrity. Everybody gets treated the same. The last for me is transparency. I've spent the last dozen years doing everything I can to tell you everything that's going on within this city. There's nothing to hide. I have nothing to hide. There's no conversation I'm unwilling to have and no topic that I'm unwilling to discuss. Those of you that have had those discussions with me know that. And so that piece of transparency to make the glass clear and make it sure that you can ask any question anytime and get the answer to any question anytime, that's what I'll do as your mayor. I'll be there. I won't always have the right answer. I may not have the answer off the top of my tongue, and I may have to do some digging for it. But by golly, we'll find it, and we'll have that conversation. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mona?
That's funny. I find it very humorous that he would put transparency as the last on his list. I actually put that on the first of my list. I have it right here. Transparency to me is key. I think there has not been enough transparency in this city for a while, and that's why I'm running as well, amongst other reasons. I feel that it is very important that the citizens of North Ogden realize that taxes are going to continue to go up, and they won't stop. Why? Because of my second virtue, which is hard work. Because we just don't have, I feel, the desire or capacity, or I'm not sure what it is, the potential, the manpower or something to go out and look for more revenue sources other than raising taxes. So to me, this is a very important point. I know that we need to broaden our tax base, and we need to bring in more businesses so that we can help keep taxes low. There are other ways to seek out revenue sources as well, but I find that this current administration and city council, at least up until now, they just find it easier to keep doing truth in taxation and raising your taxes. The third one is service. That is my third virtue, and I am here to serve the public and the community. And I just want to make that very clear, that I am here, my heart is in the right place, and if I am elected, you can hold me to that. I will absolutely fight for every resident here in North Ogden. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we're going to come to our next question. We're going to start with Phil Swanson. And so, Phil, this is concerning city streets. A recent independent study indicated that an investment of approximately $100 million will be needed in the foreseeable future to maintain roads. At a minimum, $50 million may be needed just to avoid additional cost. How should this be funded?
That is a great question, and one that council's been wrestling with for the last couple of years now. Some of it goes back to priorities. As we talked about a little bit earlier, water, sewer, trash, roads, there are critical infrastructures that have to be done in the city, and we have to make sure that those are taken care of before we take care of the nice things and the things that aren't critical to life and liberty. The $100 million figure is to bring every road up to a 20-year life expectancy. I don't think every road in North Ogden needs to be at that basically brand-new life expectancy level. What we need to do first is our city employees have said they can handle about $2.5 to $3 million a year in actual projects. If we had more money, they wouldn't be able to do more projects than that. So the council is looking at instituting a transportation utility fee to bring in an additional million or so dollars, so that we can start triaging and treating those roads that are in the worst condition, so that they don't get to that point where they have to be rebuilt. They can still be repaired and still have a 10, 12, 15-year life expectancy on them. So we need to triage that. The Public Works Department has already created a list of those roads that need the most attention the soonest. And then we're going to have to save, and do all that we can. And hopefully the legislature will give us more B&C road funds. Hint, hint, Senator.
Well, I have something to do then, don't I?
Yeah,
Go ahead,
that'd be
Mara.
you guys.
Okay. So I just want to bring to your attention again the proposal of another tax. And if we keep electing the same people, we're going to just keep having the same thing. I went for a run this morning and I saw that there is a dead-end road that actually is blocked off. It's a public street, and yet it's being blocked off. And there are signs that say private property, do not park here, but yet it has the, I guess, neighboring vehicles on there, and they've taken over our city roads. So we're not taking care of our roads, I think, correctly. I would renegotiate contracts if possible. I would seek out bids. I think 100 million is excessive, number one. And I would definitely, if needed, let's talk about the unincorporated properties that we're paying to, that are using our roads and yet not paying taxes on them. Okay, so let's incorporate properties from the unincorporated Weber County. I think there's over 50 of them, and that could probably help as well. Thanks.
Ryan.
As we've mentioned earlier, North Ogden's received about $10 to $15 million worth of grants for roads in the last couple of years. Grants are a great revenue source. The problem with grants, and it's not a problem, you still have to pay your money to receive the grant. So the city still has to come up with a matching portion usually to pay their money. And then it's also, a lot of times it's for new roads, it's not to maintain roads. For our residents, there's no easy way to say we're going to come up with $100 million. When we did our study back in 2017, we were told we needed $40 million. We looked at it again this year. Now the rates have gone up to $110 million because that's what asphalt costs and that's what contractors are charging. We go out to bid every single spring for the road projects that we want to do, and we're hoping to do a big enough portion that we get a discount. We used to contract with Pleasant View as well, so that we'd do projects together so that we'd get a bigger economies of scale and do more roads. We are looking at every option available to figure out how to fix our roads, and it's not we need $110 million today, it's in the next 10 years, we're going to have to come up with $110 million. The easiest answer is we just got to start. Our staff said they can do $3 million this year, so we're giving them $3 million to do some roads, and we're going to go from there.
Thank you very much. So we're going to go to the next question, and this goes to Mona first. So how would you approach balancing the city budget while funding necessary services like public safety, roads, and recreation? Are there areas you believe should see more or less funding?
Thank you. I love that question, actually. So I'm a Dave Ramsey fan, and I love his approach. First, seek out to have an emergency fund, okay? And then you go from there, and if you have debt in one area, you use what you have in other areas to pay off that debt. The number one pressing circumstance with that philosophy is if you have the money in one account and yet you're lacking or needing in another, I believe that the answer that we would currently find would be to raise taxes. Yet we have $3 million sitting in the community pond fund that isn't being used, and I'm not sure why it's still sitting there. For 3 years in a row, let's go ahead and use that money to take care of what we need to do, and then we can find funding for that. That's not a pressing need, but there are other things that are more pressing. So I really feel like, and then the Parks and Rec, like I said, can be self-sustaining. I just think that, strongly feel that the way that things are being done are just not handled to the best ability possible. So I would encourage and recommend that a fresh new set of eyes and perspective come into the city and look into things. Thanks.
Ryan Barker.
To balance the city budget, you have to first understand how city budgets work. Our Public Works Department have water, sewer, stormwater. Each of those have their own budgets. The money inside each of those budgets can only be spent inside each of those budgets. So the money we raise for water can only be spent on water. So your utility bill that pays for water can only be spent on water projects. Your utility bill for sewer can only be spent on sewer projects. To say we have $3 million in a stormwater project means we got to keep it in the stormwater project. And we also have a plan that we're moving this pond in the next couple of years. We're hoping that we'll get a big appropriation grant from the federal government here soon. We're waiting to hear back. But to balance our budget, that's a hard question, and we work with that every year. My number one priority has always been public safety. We try to make sure that the police have what they need to make sure that you guys are safe, to make sure our citizens are safe. Public Works is another one. That's a different type of budget because they're enterprise funds, and you usually pay for those with your utility bills. And so most of our sales tax and property tax don't go towards Public Works. They stay with public safety and then admin.
Thank you. Phil?
I think Ryan hit it on the head. What it really comes down to is that when you've been involved with government accounting and with government budgets, you realize that there are state laws that govern how that budget can be used. And as Ryan said, the money that's in the water department has to stay in the water department. And that came about because there were communities in the past that would raise your water rates because they didn't want to raise your property taxes. So they would charge you more for the water than what it cost to provide that water. And then they would take the excess and do has been suggested and illegally transfer that to another fund. And the state said, no, you can't charge somebody for something like water because you want to build a playground. And so state law prevents you from doing that. The money that's in the sewer fund, same way. Water, the money that's in the stormwater, same way. Right now, North Ogden City has about 27% in savings of our annual general fund budget. Maximum of the state is 35%, so we're nearing the maximum amount that the state allows us to have in savings. We have a very healthy rainy day fund here in North Ogden because we've looked to the future, because we understand how that accounting works. So the question is, do you want somebody who understands how the budgeting works and what the laws require and allow? If you do, then vote for me.
Thank you. Okay, we're going to come back to Ryan Barker, and I'm going to come back to the amphitheater. It's interesting looking at the questions that came in. There were a lot of questions about that, and we picked some of them, but couldn't ask all of them. This question says, the amphitheater has not been completed according to its original plan. What modifications should be made to the original plan, and should additional material investments be made by the city? How do you see the amphitheater's best use?
My personal opinion is I feel like the amphitheater is in a great working condition as it is right now. A couple years ago, we received a ramp grant for $150,000 to put in lights and sound at the amphitheater to bring it up to where it's at right now. As a council, we asked staff, said, okay, we'll take that $150,000. We have to, as a city, match it for another $150,000, and we were hoping to get $75,000 worth of donations. At the end of the year, we had $0 in donations. Nobody donated to help pay for the lights and sound at the amphitheater. So the city government had to pay for it all. I feel personally the amphitheater's in a great position. It's got lights, it's got sound, it's got the screen in there, it's got everything it needs to hold the productions. Next week they're going to start Newsies there. And then after that in the fall, if you come to council meeting on Tuesday, we're talking about another production coming. We're holding city events there. We're holding smaller city events there. It's not the tens of thousands of people that were supposed to be showing up, which was originally proposed. But the way it is now, it is a great location for small city events.
Bill?
Yes, the amphitheater has not been built out to what was originally designed and originally envisioned. I was intimately involved in those plans and in all of that many years ago. The reality is we have a great structure there. It has the lights, it has the sound. It's at a place now where we need to put it to use as it is and let it grow organically. As the opportunity for more shows, for different kinds of shows, as they show up and they want to use it, as the availability of that grows and is known throughout the entertainment community, then we can look at that time at what do we need to do, if anything, to add to it as it is now. I was very close to Brent Taylor, and I can tell you that if he were here, he would be happy that we're doing all that we can to use that facility in the way that is best for us to have it as a community gathering place. And that's really what it needs to be, is a community gathering place. A place where we can get together, where we can see our children and our grandchildren and our neighbors in shows and in talent shows and things like that. Right now, I don't think it needs any more money into it. And I don't know that it will for a while until we can get it up to speed and doing more.
Thank you. Mona?
Thanks. I would just like to emphasize that we have prime real estate sitting on 2600 North ready for development. If we can only get our act together and create a retention pond so that we can use up that prime real estate. So the city's already missing out on a lot of money. I do know that much, okay? As far as the amphitheater, I would just like to say that the best use, that was the question, what would be the best use of the amphitheater, is absolutely for community gatherings. And it is a topic that is very dear to my heart, specifically because it was, the project was started by Mayor Taylor, who I admired and worked for. I know that there has been a lot of contention around the amphitheater, and I would like to maintain respect for the neighboring residential areas. I understand their concern about the noise, parking, and other items. But I will tell you, I have never seen such a beautiful location to gather for the arts. And so I would definitely, like they said, build it and they will come. Organize it, they will come. I very strongly believe that we just need a little bit more organization, and we can have events that will beautify and enrich our lives tremendously as a community. Thank you.
Thank you. Now we're going to come back to Phil Swanson. So North Ogden has seen some commercial growth in recent years. What is your vision for future development?
Well, my vision is that hopefully all of the commercial property that we have will be developed and will bring in additional sales tax. One of the difficult things with economic development and commercial growth is that the city doesn't own the land, right? Barker Depot is finally starting to be developed now. The reason that it's been worked on, I've been working on that with council for 8 years plus. And the reason it's just now happening is because the owners of that property chose not to sell it until just recently. We can't force them. We're not going to use something like eminent domain to take property away from somebody so that we can do commercial development. So as property owners want to sell their land, there are developers that are out there that are willing to buy it and bring businesses in. We've seen that with some of the development that's happening in Pleasant View. That owner was willing to part with their land much more quickly than the owners at Barker Depot, and because of that, they have developed much further. The other thing that you have to remember with the economic development is, there's been mentioned that we've got a detention basin that's ready to be sold and developed that we could use to develop a park. Well, the problem is that asset, that stormwater detention basin belongs to the stormwater department, the enterprise fund. The proceeds from the sale of that land can only be used by that department. It cannot, by law, be transferred to another department for the amphitheater, for roads, or for anything else. That's the law.
Thank you. Mona?
Okay, thank you. So my vision for future development in North Ogden is we need somebody who will proactively go out and seek out businesses And I keep hearing that, oh, that can't be possible, that we're doing a study this, we're doing a study that. You know what? A mayor has a lot of persuasion and a lot of potential to attract investors into a city. So there's no reason why somebody can go out and, someone said we want an Olive Garden. Oh, that can't be. So ideas are so easily shut down here. And I'm willing to say, absolutely, let's go and see what we can do to get an Olive Garden in here. What do you want? Let me know. I will go and see what I can do to get them here. We definitely need to bring in more businesses. That's the only way that we're going to be able to succeed and thrive as an economy here. So I, for one, would like a hotel. I would like a hotel. And I think there's a great spot for it. It's still available because the Village of Providence Point fell through and our developer wasn't held to standard and to keep his contract. And so we don't have the beautiful development that we're supposed to have there. Instead, we have a car wash. And so I would like to bring a hotel in that corner of 1700 North and Washington Boulevard. And let's get the weddings. Instead of having all of our youth getting married and going elsewhere, spending their money, let's have them stay here within our community and supporting our local businesses. So thank you.
Brian, back to you.
Commercial growth is an interesting conversation that we've had. The big thing that the council's done this year, and we actually have already implemented it, is our staff has purchased some AI software, and it actually goes back 7 years. They got 7 years of data. They can go back and they can track people to see where they're actually going. Where are we going after you leave Smith's parking lot? Where are you going after you leave Ace? They can say, and then go to all these developments and say, our citizens are attending your facilities. Whether you're going to a Chick-fil-A, it's not coming to North Ogden, it's going out by Pleasant View, I'm sorry. But we can go to these type of businesses and say, we've got the data now to prove why you need to come to North Ogden. The problem with North Ogden, and it's one that we've had for a long time, we're a dead-end community. If you were listening to our council meeting a couple of months ago, UTA came and said their bus is going away in a year, I think. There will no longer be public transportation from UTA in North Ogden because we're a dead-end community. People that are going to be coming to our businesses have to want to live here and stay here. We're not getting residents from Riverdale, from Far West. Well, Far West is coming up to go to Lee's and Smith's. We need to find businesses that want to come here, and we're actively striving to find them. The development at Barker Depot is almost all the way sold. We've got businesses that are starting to build, and it will be developed before long.
Thank you. Okay, we're going to come back to Mona for this question. How would you approach collaboration with state or federal government on issues like infrastructure or public health? Would you prioritize local control or seek external funding and guidance?
So you said infrastructure and health?
Yeah, so how would you approach collaboration with state or federal government on issues like infrastructure or public health? Would you prioritize local control or seek external funding and guidance?
Well, for one, I'll be available to do so. That's important. I will be quitting my job to be working as much as necessary for our city. And I will be fully invested in the interests of North Ogden City. So I will actually have the time to be able to go and do these things. I will use the usual venues of approaching state and local government. And you can do that in multiple ways. You can do that in public meetings. You can do that personally. You can reach out. I'm not afraid to reach out to anybody and to come organize a meeting or figure out how to just it's such an interesting question. Sorry. How did you collaborate? I'm just like, you know what? Reach out. Reach out and work with them and figure out ways that we can help people. I mean, during COVID, that was the most interesting time in my career where we were at the the building services department. And, while everything was shutting down, we were on fire. So I don't know if that would have happened here in North Ogden if we would just close our offices and say, sorry, close for business, or if you would just be like me and roll up your sleeves and get to work and let's get some money coming in. And we raised our revenue there by 80%. It was incredible. And we helped bring so much revenue to Ogden City. And I'm sorry if you didn't get it, but we took it. We ate your lunch, I guess. I don't know.
Ryan?
As elected officials, I think we have a relationship with our state representatives. I know who you are, Senator Johnson. Mayor Berube, I know goes frequently with you to breakfast or lunch. He does that with other county commissioners. As a mayor, that's part of the job, is how do we interact and communicate with each other? I do believe for local water infrastructure, water, sewer, gas, health, that should be a local ordinance. Not every city is the same. North Ogden's water system is not the same as Ogden City's water system, is not the same as Weber or West Haven or any of those. Our water system is unique to North Ogden. Our sewer system is unique to North Ogden. It needs to be a local control, and it's the same with public health. Police and fire need to be what benefits North Ogden the best, not coming from the state down or federal down. I agree we should work together on the benefit of all, but should be local control.
Thank you. Phil?
Collaboration by its very nature requires relationships. You're not going to collaborate with your enemy. Collaboration requires a relationship, and relationships require time. Good relationships don't just happen overnight. I could pull out my phone right now and show you the names of every one of our local state legislators, our senators, our representatives. They know me by name. They know me by face. We've been to lunch together. I know the county commissioners, each and every one of them. I know legislators from our surrounding counties, from Morgan County and from Davis County, and they know me. When we have gone to the Utah League of Cities and Towns, there are legislators that know me from across the state. I have those relationships because I'm interested in what they have to say, and I'm interested in giving them what we need and telling them what we need here in North Ogden. So the first part of collaboration is having that relationship. I've had that for the last 10 years plus, and continue to foster those relationships, and will continue to foster those relationships. I'll dedicate whatever time is necessary, excuse me, to do that. But I think I'm probably 90% down the road already, because I already have those personal relationships with these individuals.
Thank you. This will be our final question. Okay, so this comes back to Ryan, right, to start. So recent inquiries have been made by the developers of Nordic Valley regarding the city's position on a gondola. Is this a good idea for the city, and what benefits do you see it brings to North Ogden?
So it's an interesting question. Currently, North Ogden is not able to support a gondola. 2600 North and Mountain Road don't have the infrastructure in place to support the traffic a gondola would bring. If we were going to build the gondola, we would have to take more property off of 2600 and off of Mountain Road to support it. Further, where they're looking to place the gondola, the city has the green waste up there in that area, and the family gave the land to the city to be used as open space. If we want to put a gondola in a hotel or anything like that, the land will revert back to the family, and the city no longer has access, and they don't want it there. I am not in favor of the gondola. I don't think it's a good idea. I don't see any benefit to North Ogden of putting in the gondola. Also, I don't really see the benefit of putting it into Nordic Valley, but that's just my own opinion.
Very good. Phil?
There's a whole lot of hoops that have to be jumped through long before North Ogden would ever have to make that kind of a decision. 90%, even if the little bit of land that would be used in North Ogden, the city decided that they wanted to go ahead and allow that, you still have the Forest Service land that has to be gone up through, and county land that has to be gone through. I don't see where the gondola would benefit North Ogden City. I've looked at it for, good heavens, I've been aware of the plans and looked at that for many, many, many years, and many different iterations. I know the principals that are involved with that. I've spoken with them individually. I don't know how they're going to do it, if they plan to do it. I don't think that it will benefit North Ogden City. As Ryan mentioned, we don't have the infrastructure. What it would do to 2600 is just astronomical. We'd have to take homes. We don't have the money to build those roads. It would be tens of millions of dollars to build that road, to bring in the sewer. They would have to tie into all of our infrastructure, our sewer, our water, and all of those kinds of things. Boy, I just don't know. But we also have to remember that most of the land over there is either federal or county land. you have to keep in the back of your mind that there's a possibility that it gets done without North Ogden City being asked any permission at all. If it's done strictly through the feds and through the county, they don't need our permission. They go ahead and they just do it. I don't see it as a viable project. If I were an investor and had hundreds of millions of dollars, it's not something that I would be investing in.
Thank you. Mona?
Thank you so much. So I would like to discuss real quick before I move on the relationships that have been lost from the lost seat of our opponent here. So you may have, I'm sorry, you can rebut if you want to, but I will say your name, Phil. I believe that the most important relationships that actually matter are the relationships with the voters of North Ogden City. And I believe that Mr. Swanson lost those relationships because he was not reelected to his seat 2 years ago. Moving on to the gondola. So far, our community has been called a dead-end community. I don't see the benefit. This can't happen. That can't happen. And I just want to mark a stark difference between the way things have been done so far to what can be done and the potential. Call me a visionary. Call me, a dreamer, whatever. Honestly, you see that beautiful mountain of Ben Lomond? Don't tell me there aren't possibilities with this community, because that is one of the best and most precious assets that we have. And everything is possible. Nothing is off the table, and I am willing to fight for North Ogden City and to make it a better place and to stop raising taxes through truth and taxation hearings every single year, which is becoming a very bad habit. Thank you.
So, Phil, you have an opportunity here to speak for a minute if you'd like. If not, that...
I'll just, I almost brought a rain slicker tonight because the mud was probably going to end up getting thrown like it did the other night, but I chose not to. When you've been involved for as long as I have, you understand what can be done and what can't be done. It's not a matter of what we want to be done. There's a lot of things that I would like to do. There's a lot of things that I would have liked to have done. I'd like to have taken money that we had sitting here and use it over there, but state law won't allow it. There's a lot of things that can be done. I guess the biggest thing that I would say is that there is a tremendous difference between being visionary and being uninformed.
Thank you. Okay, so we've come to the end. We're going to have our final pitch, 2 minutes each. And let's come back to Ryan.
You want me to go first again?
You just did, didn't you?
Yeah.
Okay, we'll come to Phil. We have
I'm happy
to
to.
be fair.
You want to come to me again?
Yeah. That gives you 3 minutes.
How much time do I have?
2 minutes.
Oh my gosh, what can you do in 2 minutes? Well, folks, it's been great the last couple of nights, Tuesday night and tonight. Grateful for all of you to come out. Grateful for the questions that you have. Grateful for your interest in the goings-on in North Ogden. I think it's pretty obvious who's been involved and who understands what the law allows, who understands how things actually work, because I've been there. I've been on the budget committees. I've worked through the budgets. I've worked through the laws. We've tried things and seen that, well, we'd like to do that, but then our attorney steps in and says, no, we can't do that. The word status quo was used the other night in reference to me, and I hope you will vote for the status quo. The status quo is one that rolls up their sleeves and gets to work. The status quo is one that's been attending meetings and working to help the city progress long before I ever sought elected office, long before I was appointed to the Planning Commission. And after the last election, I didn't just walk away and take my ball and I'm going to go home. No, I stayed involved. I continued to work on committees. I continued to work on the budget. I continued to work with city council members, with mayor, and I'm going to be there. I'm going to be there. I have been there. If being there and doing everything humanly possible for the betterment of this city is the status quo, then I hope you will vote for the status quo, because that's what we need. We need people who are willing to roll up their sleeves and work and do what can actually be done. Thank you.
Thank you. Mona?
Thank you. I would please vote against the status quo. I don't agree with it at all. That's why I'm here. If I agreed with it, I wouldn't have to be here. So the mayor is a government job, just like any other job, but it does require somebody who can represent the city and who's interested in its well-being. Every single government job that I've had, I've been thrown into it with 5 minutes of training, and then I've had to just figure things out. So as a mayor job position, I really strongly feel that it is something that I can learn. Neither of us, or none of us, have been a mayor before, and I just don't like the status quo. I'm sorry, I absolutely would vote against it. I feel that there needs to be a fresh set of eyes looking at the way things are being done here, and a little bit more investment into our city governance. I don't believe that either of the two gentlemen that are running will actually change a thing. So if you want to continue seeing truth and taxation hearings forevermore, we've already had, now this year will be the fourth one in 5 years, go for it. Up until now, up until 2001, we just didn't have a tax hike since 2003. So what has been the difference? I think there's just, I don't believe that we're on the right trajectory, and I think we need somebody that has a new energy, new ideas, that can think outside the box, and that would be me. And I'm not going to do it by myself. We have professionals that work for the city, and I have a lot of contacts as well. I've worked for 2 cities in 1 county, so it's not like I'm coming into this without my own set of tools in my toolbox. I'm very well equipped and very prepared to start from day one. So anyway, I'd like to ask for your vote, or at least please get to know me a little bit better, and I'd like to come by and talk to you more if you'd like to get to know me. Please feel free to call me. I have my brochures in the back with my contact information, and please, I'd like your vote because I think we can do better here in North Ogden. Thanks so much.
Thank you. Ryan Barker?
So the reason I decided to run for mayor this year, I was actually against it for a long time. I respect our city staff immensely, and I've seen what happens when you actually have elected officials that don't fully support staff. My job as mayor is I believe in uplifting, empowering our city staff, but it's also being a liaison between the public and the staff. When we're hired or elected as whether council or mayor, we are not the experts. We are not the experts in water, sewer, stormwater, police, city administrator. So no, I will not be quitting my full-time job because I'm an expert in fire. I know how to do that. But I do know that with North Ogden, we have hired the experts. My job as mayor would be to support them. How do we support them? How do we give them the resources they need so that they can do their job? Every year during budget season, we've seen our department heads come to us and say, here's our request, here's what we need. And then they're like, it'd be great if we could have some of these wants. But every year they always scale everything back. They cut back. Every year at the final budget, they've come in under budget almost every single year. I think this year we're going to be, I should ask the mayor,